Hi, this is Tom Painter, and this is the Money Made Easy course, and I wanted to teach you how it all got started. Now, I'm one of 10 children. You can see this is my mom and dad. There are 7 of us boys and 3 girls. And our parents taught us how to be compassionate capitalists. My mom was very compassionate, very giving. My dad was a capitalist. He was a small businessman who started with nothing with his father, and when he was 14 years of age, they started with a small car dealership. They would find old cars and fix them up out of a gas station, and that's how our family dealership got started with my grandpa. But my parents were compassionate capitalists. My dad is one of the people that I could tell you was a self-made man. He learned from other people, and he really pulled himself up by the bootstraps. We grew up in a very small town. There was 10 of us kids. There was actually 3 car dealers in a town of only 3,000 people. So we had to think very differently. And the systems that he taught me were very important. Not only did he teach me, but he showed by example. If you could only give somebody you loved one thing, money or knowledge, what would you give them? Well, you'd give them knowledge. Now, if you can take that knowledge and add an experience with it, then that's all the better. So if you can teach them how to make money, give them the knowledge to do that and help them do it, and then have them experience it, then the probability of them being successful goes up dramatically. And so I want to dedicate this book and system to my mom and dad for teaching us how to be compassionate capitalists. When I was very young, I was helping my dad work on a house that was next door, and we were sanding and painting, and it was hot, and I wasn't having much fun. And I said, "Dad, are you going to pay me for doing this work?" And he said, "No, son, get back to work." And I was only about 14 years of age when we had this experience. And he could see that I was kind of disappointed in his answer. And he said, "Well, you know, son, we're doing this home so we can make some extra money to put you kids through college so that you can get a university degree." And being 14 years of age, he could see that I wasn't really that impressed with that answer. I didn't really care about college at 14 years of age. But he said something else very, very important to me. He said, "Some people make so much money off of their real estate, their small businesses, and their investments that they don't have a job. They make money off of their investments and their small businesses." And that really stuck to me. And at 14 years of age, it was one of those aha moments that really made a big impact on me. This last year recently, my father passed away. And you know, he did some pretty amazing things in his lifetime. He was very much a self-made man. You know, as I grew up, went to college, married the girl of my dreams, and we started a family. And this is my wife and I, LaDawn, with our then 3 kids. We had 2 more after that. And so we ended up with 5 children. And our families continued to grow, and it seemed everything was going okay and until I was at age 34. It was July 25th, 1993, and I had a heart attack. And as I was being wheeled down into surgery, I asked myself a couple questions. 1, was I coming back? And 2, if I didn't come back, who was going to take care of Ryan? See, I'm 30 years older than this little boy, and who's now grown up to be a man. And if we both live the same life expectancies, I'm going to be on this earth. He's going to be on this earth for 30 years after I'm dead and gone. And so I had to figure out systems to be able to help. So not only to create wealth, but to create streams of income to take care of this special needs child. Now, if something happened to you, who would take care of your family? Now, I was pretty lucky. 1/3 of all heart attack patients die. Their first warning sign is death. And so I had to figure out how to create multiple streams of income. I did that with investments, with network marketing, small business, and real estate. I went out and I did them all. And my son is now financially set for life. We've set up trusts in his name. And so there will be money coming into his life for 30 years after I'm dead and gone. And my wife and I still work very hard to teach our special needs son how to be self-reliant as possible. And in order to do that, we started teaching him about money. We started to play with money. And he loves Disneyland very much. And so he wanted, for good behavior, he could make extra money to go to Disneyland or to actually buy a Sprite. Because when he would go to school, good behavior, he could take some of that money and actually go buy a Sprite. And it's continued to grow. I started teaching my younger children and here's the younger 3 children. And we started playing with money. We started experiencing money. Money, if you don't play with it, doesn't really mean anything. If you play with it, it actually becomes real. And we taught them how to track their money, how to keep track of it. And each year, my dad and I would actually create a plan for all of his grand and great-grandchildren. And my mom and dad did something very interesting. They created an investment account for all of the grand and great-grandchildren. Back in 1984, they did that. Then they had a small number of grandchildren. Today, they have 69 grand and great-grandchildren, and all of them have an investment account where my dad and mom planted a money seed. They took care of it. They watered it. They helped it grow. They watched it, nurtured it. And now, as my kids are getting older, they all have a great start. Many of my nieces and nephews and grand nieces and nephews, many of them used them to start small businesses. Many of them used them to buy a home. But my mom and dad did something very interesting. Is that they did something more important. They wanted their grandkids and great grandkids to be financially well off, so that they can do the things that they were set on this earth to go do. As a compassionate capitalist, we would create these plans every year for them. And so we started teaching this system to my nieces and nephews. And literally, we would create a game plan and show them how much money that they needed and where that money would go and how it would grow. And you can see these are some of my nieces and nephews. And my dad teaching my nephews about money. And we would use real money. You can see my brother sitting back there listening to my dad talk. There's the nieces and nephews sitting there listening. And we gave them banks. Now, many of these nieces and nephews are grown up, and they've got children of their own. And more importantly, though, we taught them the system, and we gave them an experience, the experience of actually playing with money. And there was some rewards for doing it, some matching programs and other stuff like that. Here's my mom and dad right here with some of my nieces and nephews. And many of them are all grown up now, and some of them are married and have kids of their own. This is one of my nieces talking to my dad that if she did the system, would he match part of the saving and investing? You see my dad's getting a big charge out of that because he thought that was pretty fun to be able to do. We experimented with the grandkids and nieces and nephews and used the jar system. And now that same system is taught to thousands and thousands of people all over the world, actually. And here you can see we're using real money to teach them real principles. This are some of the kids. My daughter's the far one on the right, and then my son, my special needs son, has the hat on. Then I have another daughter, a son, and my youngest daughter is on the tail end in the pink as part of the grandkids. And we created a parent and a grandparent match investment program where the grandkids could save and invest, and then we'd match part of that amount. And you can see the goal is to have $1 million when they get to be 65. It's not about having $1 million. It's about a habit. It's about an experience. Because $1 million may not be enough money for them in 40 years from now, 50 years from now. And so you can see every one of them needed a different amount to invest. And the goal is that as they bring in every one of these kids and nieces, nephews, every one of them is going to make and spend $1 million in a lifetime. If you work at a minimum wage job over a lifetime, that's $1 million. And so we wanted to be able to teach them in a very fun way about money. And you can see that the earlier you start, the less money you need. Your real goal as you bring money in is to be able to take part of that and give some of it away and take as much as you can. Your goal is to take 10 to 20% of your revenue that comes in and put it in for long-term saving and investing. And then we start sharing these ideas with neighbors and church groups and scout groups, and it just kind of got out of hand after that. Now, my question is, would you be willing to mentor other people? Who would you mentor? You have children of your own, you have nieces, nephews, you have kids in your neighborhood, you have church groups. Who would you mentor? Who would you like to teach about this stuff? Churches, civic groups, organizations. These are all important. And so this is one of the classes I was doing, and you can see those kids are coming after the cash, and we had an awful lot of money. We've taught thousands and thousands of kids, teens, young adults, adults. And all we do is we take the same 5 steps and put extra complexity to it. That's what's kind of key. And you can see this little gal was pretty excited to be able to get that money that she earned. And we handed out real money, and it was pretty good. And these are the systems that you can do as well. Now, my friend Robert Allen, my dad taught me a lot about money when I was growing up. And when I was in college, I actually got the chance to meet Robert Allen, and I went to his Nothing Down seminar class. Interesting enough is that I didn't have much money when I was in college. And I went to his class, and I was a partner with my brother. My brother was supposed to pay full price, and I was going to pay half price, because that's how much the partners was a discount. And something came up, and my brother was not able to go to the seminar. And so he told me the night before, he says, hey, something's come up. I can't go to the event. Sorry. And he didn't go. But I really wanted to learn the information. So I drove to the seminar, and I talked to the seminar provider, and I says, I'm going to college. I would love to go to the class. My brother didn't show up, but I don't have the money to pay full price. And luckily, he said, can you prove to me that you're actually going to college right now? And I went out in the car, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I pulled out my psych book and my physics book, and I took it in and shows, look, I'm going to university right now. I would love to go to the class. I just don't have the money. I can get in if you give me the half price, which is what the second person was. And they said, sure, come on in, and you can stay. And now that's the only time that my physics book and my psych book has ever done me any good in my life, was they helped me get into the seminar. And I sat through this seminar, the Nothing Down seminar, and more than anything else, I was convinced that the things they taught were possible. It was possible to be able to buy real estate. My dad had done it. My dad had taught me about the basics of it. Bob had put it into a very good system to be able to do it. And I went out and started doing the things that he taught. Now, by coincidence, he actually lived in the same city that I did. And of course, he's written many, many books on real estate. Wonderful man. He's really a giving person, and he just loves to teach and help other people. And he's famous for the different challenges. Now, I met Bob right after he did the Los Angeles Times Challenge, and I helped him do some of the other challenges as well, the St. Louis Challenge and the Enlightened Wealth Challenge. And I met him right after he did this first one. He made a challenge. He says, I'm going to teach you that you can do this. And he said, send me to any city in America, take away my wallet, give me $100 for living expenses, and in 72 hours, I'll buy an excellent property using none of my own money. And Bob was challenged to do that. They sent him to San Francisco. Los Angeles Times reporter was by his side. And in 57 hours, he bought 7 properties. And I met him right after he did that. And I went to his office pretty much every day for, at least once a week for a year, because I wanted to get a job. I didn't want to get a job to have a job. I wanted to get a job to learn and be mentored by someone and actually go out there and do it. And I started buying properties, little properties, fix them up, sell them. And I was single, and they needed somebody to go out on the road as he was talking to people about his courses and books and things like that. And I remember being in the green room in New York City. Malcolm Forbes was there, the guy who created the Forbes magazine and Fortune magazine, both. And I remember Bob was being interviewed, and they said, well, Bob, I know you can do it, but can anybody do this? And I guess it came off his head. He said, yeah, send me to any unemployment line. Let me select someone that's out of work and discouraged. Let me teach them for 2 days the secrets of creating wealth. And in 90 days, they'll be back on their feet with $5,000 cash in the bank, never to set foot in an unemployment line again. And he was challenged to do that. And he was sent to St. Louis. I helped him do that. As part of the challenge, they could have a coach. I was a periodic coach. I was buying little properties. He was buying big apartment complexes. And with the help of one of my college professors, Blaine Lee, we actually went to St. Louis and took people out of an unemployment line. We taught them the system, and then we coached them by the phone, over the phone, for the next 90 days. Steve and Mary Bonenberger bought their first property and made their money on the 89th day. The other 2 people also did a property. They just took them a little bit longer than 90 days. Steve and Mary made about $100,000 over that next year doing real estate. Now, our goal is to be able to create enlightened millionaires and enlightened millionaires in the making. Can you imagine a network of people all dedicated to doing good in the world? And we created the Millionaire Hall of Fame. The goal was to be able to have $1 billion to prove that our systems worked. And for our students, give away $25 million to charity and have 5,000 success stories. And also to be able to share their wealth. And the reality is that after we accomplish that, we up those to a higher goal. And our students made over $1 billion. These are students that read our books, went to the seminars, whatever, but they made over $1 billion. They gave away over $30 million to charity, and there's thousands and thousands of success stories that are out there. And so part of what I'm teaching today is really how to be able to do that. And my goal is to take the information I've learned. And one thing that I noticed was a lot of the students we taught had a small beginning of finances. But there's a lot of those people that we met had no clue. It wasn't taught to them in school. And so that's why I've created the Money Made Easy program, to be able to make a big difference in people's lives. And again, as I've traveled around the world, I've seen a lot of things, and it's really come down to three things. And this is kind of my mantra of what I want to accomplish in the rest of my life. One is to make a difference. Make a positive difference in all the people that you meet. Number two, make it happen. A lot of people talk the talk, but they don't make it happen. Just make it happen. However it takes, make it happen. And the last thing is that every life is precious. And so that's really what we're trying to do in this course. So my challenge to you is to make a difference. More importantly, make it happen, and remember that every life is precious. Again, this is Tom Painter. Thank you for being in our classes, and I hope we can make a difference in your life, and you can make a difference in other people's lives.